they're so high on doing what they're doing and the pollen that they're getting that you can reach up and just pet them and touch them and they won't bother you. So it's kind of cool. We do it when we have kids out all the time, and we'll find a bumblebee and pet its back, and they really get a big kick out of it.
Green Isle Gardens is an 8-acre and expanding Florida Native Plant Nursery in Groveland. Just sit down, have your coffee. You're going to love this question and answer period, and then a short tour. Good morning. Welcome to Virtual Coffee and Convos. My name's Pat Gilmore, and I'm the Program Director for the Leesburg Center for the Arts. And I took a field trip this morning. I'm here in Groveland at Green Isle Gardens, which is a native plant nursery. And I'm going to let you all introduce yourself. You're Marc, and your last name is
Godts.
Godts. And you are the director here?
I am the owner and proprietor of Green Isle Gardens. And so, yeah, I direct everybody here.
Okay, you're a director too. And John Benton. And John, what is your affiliation with native plants?
I am president of the Lake Beautyberry chapter of Florida Native Plant Society in Eustis.
Well, John connected us to get this field trip happening. I think it's a really interesting subject, and I have several questions that maybe lay people who don't know about Florida native plants have. So I think that's a perfect opportunity. What a gorgeous morning, and what a beautiful property you have here.
Well, thanks. Thanks. We try to make it as welcoming as possible for everybody.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to get off camera and ask questions, and I'm realizing the cameras are over there and they're looking at me. You know, so I need their voices to be headed towards the camera, so I'm going to get behind the camera, and we're just going to start a discussion. I'm going to ask questions. All righty? Sound good?
Okay.
All right. So what's the big deal about Florida native plants? Why should we be having them in our garden, Marc? And just tell us, what's the difference? I mean, who cares? I mean...
So let's start from scratch. So Florida native plants are plants that are from Florida. They weren't brought in by botanists or explorers coming to the New World. They were here originally and used by the Native Americans. And they are adapted to our soils and conditions and heat and rains. And so all the fun stuff that Mother Nature throws at it, they've had time to adapt to it. So we don't have as many problems, insect disease problems, with these plants as you would with all the other non-native plants that are brought in. So, and to top that, why we do native plants. Number one, it's a great spot in the market. Not many folks do it. Number two, I do this for creatures. I don't do this for people. People is secondary. Creatures need a helping hand. We have taken so much of their area, and we take more every day for housing and urban sprawl, that we need to help them out with their food sources. And so all these native plants are their food sources, from bees and butterflies to large animals and mammals, deer, raccoons, alligators. They all work in coordination with what we do. And that's why I do it for the creatures, because they don't have a voice, and I'm here to try to help them. And in the process, people get to enjoy all the side benefits. So it brings life to their landscape, so rather than just a sterile landscape filled with color that we see, it is filled with food sources that the creatures see, and then we get to see the creatures as they come into the yard.
Ah, great. Great. So in my head, since I knew nothing about Florida native plants, I guess in my mind I was seeing a lot of ornamental grasses and wildflowers, and I wasn't seeing it as being a type of manicured garden in any way. But enlighten me on landscaping with the Florida plants.
Okay. Yeah. So plants in general need tending and maintenance, whether they're native or non-native. And you can make a native landscape look as formal as you'd like. You can make it look like an English tidy garden, or conventional garden if you'd like. It just takes work, but you would have to work on non-natives as well. So it's kind of a misconception that, you know, you plant the native, you can just let it go and it's going to be neat and tidy. Well, if you want neat and tidy, you're going to have to trim it and prune it, deadhead the flowers, and keep it neat and tidy. Or you can just let it go naturally. And I think if you did the same thing with non-natives, you would end up with the same results. If you were just to let your non-native plants go without trimming and manicuring them, they would get big and bushy and sprawly and weedy, and there would be dead on them that would need to be taken care of. So it's all a matter of treating your landscape the same. It's going to need management, whether it's native or non-native, and but hopefully less management. So you're not going to be needing to fertilize as much, you won't need to water as much, and you won't have as much pest control, or any at all. So those reductions add a dollar figure to the landscape. And I think more and more folks are realizing that, the benefits of doing natives. Our business has increased exponentially in the past 2 years, and especially here with COVID-19. People are working at home and working in their gardens, and they're wanting to bring more life to their gardens. I mean, they don't have the opportunity to get out into nature as much, so this is their way to get out into nature, by creating it at home.
And it's intent. If your intent is a formal, controlled landscape, like you say, your inputs are higher. If your intent is to bring pollinators and insects and Florida native critters, it probably needs to be a bit shaggier, because the critters like these little hidey holes. They need places to overwinter. They need plants to mature so they can use the different parts that they need. So it's all about how one tends the garden.
I would agree.
Marc does some, I know he does a lot of that control as well for other things. It's mainly that they have the ability to displace native Florida plants, and it's a big problem in the wild areas that we have left. Is when these get out of bounds. In the urban landscape, it's not as big a problem, but again, it doesn't necessarily support the creatures that one might want to encourage.
I'm not a purist by any means as far as native plants. I enjoy lots of non-natives as well, but as John was saying, as long as it's not an exotic invasive that could affect our wild lands.
Can you give me some examples of what an invasive is down here, besides everything I just told you that's
Yeah, so you listed off some. So bleeding hearts is an invasive. Mexican Benton is an invasive. It's not a major problem if you're in the center of an urban area, but if you're on the edges of that urban sprawl, near a natural parkland, or a county park, or municipal park of some form, and those plants spread rhizoctonius. They spread by the roots very easily, and they will slide out of your yard into the next yard and then into the next yard over time. And then they also don't provide much food source for our native pollinators and insects. And so, again, the displacement that they cause reduces the amount of food source that those creatures can take up.
So give me some examples of what a Florida native plant that is colorful that we would want to bring into our decorative gardens.
Well, probably the top few that we always promote for instant pollinator gardens would be our tropical sage, firebush, coral honeysuckles if you wanted a vine, and then for like a starter vine that would attract larvae as a larval host for butterflies, we recommend passion vines, some of our native passion vines. You get the gold fritillary butterflies and the zebra longwing butterflies, which are really common to our areas. They both nectar and lay their eggs on those vines. And so as a starter plants, those are kind of like the top 4 that we always suggest. And then the diversification goes from there. We grow almost 300 different species here. We're always adding to the palette. Each butterfly, if you're a butterfly enthusiast, has its own larval plant. So if you want a spice bush butterfly, you need to have the spice bush or something in that family. The zebra longwings and gulf fritillaries, anything in the passion vine family. If you want monarchs, you have to have milkweeds. So just because you put a milkweed in doesn't mean you're going to get lots of other different kinds of butterflies. You're just going to attract moths that are really love their jobs, and they're really enthusiastic about helping out folks pick the right plant for the right place. And you are correct. If you have sandy yards, there are milkweeds for sandy yards. If you have wet, moist, irrigated yards, there are specific milkweeds for that too. And so you want to choose that right plant for the right place. And that goes whether it's native or non-native, but it's certainly more beneficial when it's native.
And there's some good resources on the web. Florida Native Plants has, you can type in your location and your soil and sun regime, and it will come up with a list, a suggested list. And you can take that, and the staff here can help you refine that for your specific location. So there's some good resources out there. Florida Wildflower Foundation has a good one. Florida Native Plant Growers has if you're looking for a specific thing for your yard, you can type in that and it'll tell you which nursery has it in stock, so it'll help you find those rare things that you might want.
What about ground cover?
So lots of great choices of ground covers. And I always try to encourage folks, instead of just having like one species of ground cover to replace your turf, mix it up. Add a little more diversity. So get a few multiple species, add some pathways to make your yard interesting, to draw you out, maybe not in the middle of summer, but in the evenings in summer or the early mornings. And then of course spring and fall, which are our best times for being out in the yard here in Florida. And those are great times to get out and work in the yard and see what's moving around in the yard too, what new creatures have been brought in by the plants you do. So the more diversity you do, the more diversity of creatures you're going to have come into the yard. And it's going to make it easier on you. Because if you just try to do a monoculture of a single plant item, you're going to end up with lots of problems just like you do with your turf. You're going to see weeds pop in it. People are always trying to get rid of weeds in turf. Well, you're going to always be trying to get rid of the weeds in that one single crop of twin flower or whatever native plant material you use as a single ground cover. So if you mix it up a little bit, it adds a little more spice and more diversity for creatures. And you won't notice those few mixed weeds that come in sometimes, and you can easily handful. So by doing that, I call it quiet gardening, because then you can go out in the evenings or the mornings, and you just have a pair of hand shears and your little bucket to take all the trimmings in, and you're just hand weeding and hand trimming. You don't have to run any machines, no edgers, no hedge trimmers, no blowers. Got quiet gardening. It's a lot more zen feel.
Anything else that you feel that we would need to know to get introduced to Florida Native Plants? And John, you as well, talk about Facebook pages, but we'll start with Marc.
Yeah, so we're here at the nursery from 8:30 to 3:30, Monday to Friday for the public, general public, and then on Saturday from 8 to 2. We ask that everybody follow normal social distancing practices. They wear a mask to be helped out. And but more than welcome to come out and stroll through all our rows of plant materials. Like I said, we do about 300. So if you're looking for anything in particular, just give us a holler or ask any of our associates. They'll be happy to try to help you out. And so our other services besides the nursery, we're mainly a wholesale grower. We sell to contractors and large theme parks and developers throughout the state. So you get to take advantage of all the materials that we grow for those folks as well when you come in and purchase. And we also offer design services. We do offer consultation services probably we will offer it back once we have a cure for COVID-19. We are not going out into the general public and offering consultation services, but the public can come to us. And if they want to do that, they can bring some photos of their yard, maybe a quick sketch, and we can help them try to figure out plant placements for their yard.
Business.
We'll help you create habitat.
That's
That's
wonderful.
what it's all about.
Great. John, talk to us about.
The Native Plant Society has been in existence for, I know our chapter is 20 years old, and so the Parent Society has been even longer than that. And so we are a resource for people who enjoy or just want to learn more about native plants. And when we can meet again, we meet every other month at the Trout Lake Nature Center in Eustis. And we have speakers that talk about various aspects from the beginning stage to the really down in the weeds, native weeds stage. And so we help one another talk about what works in various yards, and want to be a resource for people who are interested in the subject.
Thank you so much. I've already learned a gazillion things already just in this quick chit chat.
Or you learned a little bit more about your yard.
Yeah, I certainly did. Sorry, is it always about me? Yeah, yeah, it is. Let's bring it home, kids. But I'm just looking around here and I can't wait to take a walk. And John, will you accompany me?
Absolutely.
So Marc can get back to work, and we'll just go ooh and ah of the things we want to take home.
Okay. By all means.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
1,000 milkweeds a year. We grow for Monarch Watch, which is a large organization of multiple universities and state groups and federal government to help repopulate milkweeds throughout the eastern United States. You know, our way of giving back is to help them reestablish natural land areas. So these are actually rescues from an area that's going to be developed. These are all upland species, kind of critically, and some of them are critically endangered, like this Caligula Newtonii, federally listed. And so we rescue them from this area, we harden them off here, and then we take them to a donor site. And we do that all for the all our hibiscus gardens, so we have lots of hibiscuses in the state, and so we have just about every one of them that grow here, so we'll be able to seed collect a little bit from here if we don't get a chance to go back out in the wild to collect.
Wow, look how
And of course, yeah, the Firebush is a great attractant for, that's why I always recommend it as one of the top things to get started. It's reliable. It brings in lots of pollinators, all different kinds of butterflies.
And you can cut it back and it'll
Trim it, you can shear it, you can shape it. It's very adaptable. This is just kind of let go. That's about the maximum height that it gets. But yeah, we got tiger swallowtails, we got giants, we got zebra longwings, butterflies. That's the main thing. And then zebra longwings lay on the passion vine when the passion vine is planted in the shade, and we do have some passion vine in there, and that's where they like to lay it. And then the hummingbirds come in. There's a little sphinx moth that's kind of a mini hummingbird, a mimic of bog garden or a wetland area.
you punch holes in the bottom?
We usually just punch 1 or 2 holes, just enough to let the water trickle out. But we can grow lots of species that would normally you can't grow in the yard.
Right.
What are these, what's the color that I'm thinking of? Whatever, let's call them pink purple.
So the pinkish ones are one of our native phlox. That's Phlox paniculata, or common garden phlox, and it grows in North Florida through the eastern United States north. So in Florida, this is our extremely southern range, just in North Florida, but it'll do well here, and it blooms from about the end of May all the way through December.
It's a I'll have some of that. Which given? No, what was this again?
Well, it's called Polynesian spinach. It's actually in the hibiscus family. And a friend of mine gave me a little start for it. It's over at Ag Starts. And so, but you can use it in salads, smoothies. Just treat it like a regular spinach leaf.
It's kind of bland. I think it needs a little garlic, but it's good.
Like most things, salt, garlic, sugar, wild strawberries, bird pepper. These are native, both natives.